Okay, we are going to discuss the future of the technologies. Let's start that conversation then. The ones who have been to the presentation of Konstantin Dranch could see very interesting slide how people help to teach artificial intelligence. So there was a picture, few cars on the road, and the human should select one of them. I can show it if you want, Kirill. Can you do it, please? I will do it now. So, dear experts, is that the slide? That is a tool of adaptation of line bridge, the advertising it at the moment. So what do you think? In the nearest future, the development of technologies in translation sector will lead us to the stage when the translator will just select right or wrong translation just using the mouse. Who can start? Kirill, what language are we speaking? You know, it's easier for me to speak Russian. Egor also prefers speaking Russian. Better English. Okay. In general, I would like to select it in few stages because some components can be automatized rather easy because we need to teach AI and the checking of the TM. There is such a service, Egor Translating, for instance, provides it. They clean up the translation memory, improving their quality to feed it up to machine translation to improve its quality. That's what we have. That's what we have now for some of the projects. Talking about future, there are some parts of translation requiring high quality marketing, for instance, and the language itself is rather flexible. And there are a lot of hidden contents, hidden sense, and it's complicated to teach the machine to do that. And I think that this part will be human for a longer time. It will be translated by humans for many years. That's my feeling.
Paul is silent for some reason. He covered the topic extensively during the keynote. So generally, first of all, I do remember very well what he said, and he's definitely an expert in the area. So first of all, not in our lifetime. Second, you are forgetting about the philosophical approach. For some reason, you're thinking that when you just click the button and say this one or that one is working, or just works in this particular context or whatever, it's actually a creative act because you need to read all of them. You need to evaluate all of them. That is a kind of a modern translation act. So it's kind of a translation of the future. It's not that the person does nothing, but just presses a button. Actually, it's a lot of analytical work done behind the scenes, because other than that, the machine may select the translation that's not completely adequate, not the best one, or completely inadequate, because any artificial intelligence thing, it just makes mistakes. It's inevitable. And finally, the last one to surrender will not be marketing. Marketing, it's relatively easy to translate because for some reason people are using a very typical, I would say, rather narrow-minded marketing slang, most of them. What it really requires more human input in our experience is actually the most quickly developing and growing sector, entertainment. Games, movies, multiplayer games where people from different countries play and they need a lot of translation and part of it is automated, but still when you're preparing all those huge user interfaces, huge massive volumes of translation, this is the area where machines are not so good because you just need too much context. You need to know what happened in season 3 of Game of Thrones in order to translate season 8 adequately.
So I'm sorry, I'm playing catch-up a little bit because I totally missed the beginning and I don't know what that was all about. But I think I kind of get the gist of where the conversation is going. So in terms of using artificial intelligence for the translation process, you're right, I don't see that replacing the recognition of what's a good translation, what's not, and doing the translation for a very long time. But in terms of process, and removing the need for many of the manual processes, I absolutely see that as being a way forward. And we're already using it, for example, to be able to identify the content. So if you're trying to choose a specific machine translation engine, rather than have a project manager spend time trying to identify which is the right engine to use to translate this particular content, you can use linguistic AI to be able to identify the right content and hopefully choose the right machine translation engine to do it very quickly. And there are many other processes that you could use in a project management capacity that can be handled by artificial intelligence. So I think that's where it's likely to go, certainly to begin with.
Да, Кирилл, если ты хочешь, чтобы я сказал, то ты мне...
Kirill, if you want me to say something, give me the floor, please. Kostya, do you have something to add? Yeah, I got something to add. In English, right?
View, the future is already here, but it's not evenly distributed. There are already companies that do not have translators working for them. They have bilinguals and fast post editors. It's just that it's a very small percentage of the total volume, right? So if you look at what SDL does, they machine translate 150 times more than they human translate. So it's a big difference. But when they human translate, what is the penetration of machine translation? Probably 30%, something like that. Maybe a little more. I don't know, Paul. You could probably correct me. If you look at the platform kind of companies like Unbubble, the experience of a translator working for Unbubble would be very similar to just clicking a few buttons here and there. Or if you look at how they train engines for Model-Front, they just select from ABC. Very few text edits. So there are companies already working like that, but they do not represent the majority of the market. They wouldn't represent the majority of the market for the next 5 years.
Usually speaking about the technology, they say that it is developing too rapidly. It is hardly possible to say when it happens. I mean that the real artificial intelligence will cover a human being. Yet I think that the majority here are more worried about the nearest future. Say for the period of some 5-7 years, I don't know, up to 10 years, probably it's hard to foresee what will be more than that. So what are the hardest hits in the nearest future? What is the future which Konstantin mentioned is already started? What should we expect? So what is the development of the machine translation? So what is next, which is different from now, but still is not far away and not that much different? The hybrid of CAD tool and machine translation, probably this already happened, yes? What else? What else? That would be more interesting than something, you know, completely artificial intelligence and so on, because this is what we will have to live soon.
Okay. And I think we've been discussing this very subject for the last couple of days. And I don't think we should be looking at it from the perspective as hardest hit, because that's the wrong way to look at it. That suggests that we're taking away work from translators and project managers, as opposed to providing a mechanism to increase the amount of content that gets translated, as opposed to enabling more companies to enter a global market in an easier way. And doing that by making it possible by removing all the manual processes. So I wouldn't look at it from the perspective of it being hard hit. I would look at it from the perspective of there being more opportunities, different opportunities, and people need to focus on different things. That maybe is not the answer you're looking for, but that's the way I would view it.
Да, Костя.
Yes, Константин. Итак, перевод сильно не изменится. В следующие 3-5 лет будут CAD-тулы, будут и лучшая интеграция с MT, никуда это не денется. Интеграция будет улучшаться, технологии вокруг других языковых услуг тоже будут улучшаться, будет больше устного перевода, будет больше развития в локализации, адаптации. Адаптация станет более рыночной. Возможно, некоторые движки, которым пользуются проект-менеджеры, будут изменяться. Но сам перевод, он сильно не изменится. Что вы можете сделать как переводческая компания? Какое программное обеспечение будете использовать? Какие тексты будете переводить? Вот как раз это изменится. CRM, TMS, интеграция, дополнительные услуги. Может быть, ПО для бизнес-процесса, для аутсорсинга бизнес-процесса, независимо от того, какие именно услуги оказываются. Вот это изменится. Но перевод, он уже находится на довольно высоком уровне развития. Да, это какие-то маленькие шажки происходят, но они происходят во многих отраслях перевода. Например, распознавание речи. Мне кажется, вот то, что нас ждет дальше. Окей. I have another questions, development of technologies in LSP. I think in your presentation, about 50 types of work were listed. What services LSPs can provide, and with technologies development in the nearest time, what other types of job will become popular? What kinds of specialists will be required by LSPs? As according to this example, LSPs, Lionbridge, for instance, are doing something non-pure translation. For instance, they are teaching artificial intelligence. It's not connected to some language skills. And by the way, that's a very interesting dynamic itself. So in the nearest future, what other services will be required by LSPs?
Different, but the specialists are all the same. To run an annotation unit, you still have the project managers and you still have a pool of freelancers. It's the same as outsourcing, just you have a more technically minded project director who organizes what kind of things the project managers and the linguists are doing. So the talent pool is not changing so much. It depends on the size of the company. A small company starts with a project manager, then you add a salesperson, then you add a quality manager, vendor manager, marketing manager, and so on. So the way your teams are built, it's not changing so much. Maybe you have more skills, with the project managers. Maybe they know how to run data science, maybe they learn Python, maybe they can do rudimentary API integrations by themselves in the next 5 years. Maybe they know regular expressions much better. Maybe they know how to swindle the translators into doing post editing at a reduced rate for 50%. So the skill set of individual people will change, but the roles on the team will probably stay the same. There's going to be a technical expert and project managers.
Я могу добавить, Константин.
I can add on that, Konstantin, you probably know that many participants of Russian translation market make very interesting analysis of the vacancies published, I mean vacancies in translations sector. And it's very interesting to see how different are these lists year to year. There is no search for translators. There are new specializations, new professions, and that's what we discuss in Russian Facebook, I mean in translators groups. Unfortunately, I didn't know we would go in these directions. I would like to bring it here. How does this request change year to year? First, we had these post editors, and someone was very sad about it, sad and excited at the same time. But the search for post editors became higher than the search for translators. There is a whole list of rather interesting specializations, new specialization required by LSPs, and the analysis can give us interesting piece of information. We can see how does it change. There are rather exotic vacancies, for instance, managers of machine translation, for instance. It is a brand new position in LSPs, because what kind of experience, what kind of skills this person should have, because you cannot get them in the university or in some other company. It's just personal experience, or I don't know what it might be. Manager on MT. Do you have it? Do you have someone like that in your company?
Don't know how to do it themselves. They're hiring an expert to guide the team towards that. But in the future, most of the project managers will be able to do with machine translation. We should ask Leonid. Leonid has a very advanced company technologically. Leonid, do you have a machine translation manager, dedicated role on the team? Do you have other roles that are not there with the companies in Ukraine, for example?
Okay, I'll provide an absolutely different viewpoint here. Well, that hopefully is.
But first answer the question.
Of course, that hopefully sparks the discussion. So honestly, what Svetlana mentioned, I'm just thinking maybe I need to post a vacancy for a BS manager, because it doesn't sound normal. It's just people are lost, they need somebody, and they do not understand what they're going to do, so they're trying to hire some competences that they consider critical, but they do not fully understand. And when we are talking about, near future, just as Alexander put it, I would say that there are two approaches to that. One thing, you are trying to at least get your company, say, future-proof for the next, 3 years, a short-term plan. And in this case, you really need people who do know how to work with MT, what are the specifics, how to deploy it, how to integrate it into your process, how to actually increase productivity, that's the final goal, rather than just show off or something like that. But forward-looking companies are thinking about the big picture, and the big picture here is like that. As far as the industry matures, and I'm not talking about particular means like this or that type of MT or something, and it definitely matures because more and more things are automated. Translation, management, the whole cycle. Actually, it's the law of life. It means that profits go down. So when the market is completely saturated and almost everything is automated, it means that your margins are going to be tiny. So long term, not in the next 3 years, it's going to be a much less profitable industry, and it's not super profitable even at the moment, which means that forward-looking companies, well, at least in my view, that's why I'm kind of disrupting the audience here, they're trying to diversify, and that's exactly why Linebridge does it, and that's exactly why everybody else does it, because they do understand that if translation accounts for, say, 90% of your overall revenue, it's fine in the next several years as far as you are keeping within the trend and mastering new technologies. But it's not a long-term solution, so you need to diversify. What you do depends on your preferences, on your natural strengths and other things. Whether you're going to diversify into something more artistic and creative, where the role of, say, higher paid human factor is more important, is going to stay that way for years to come, whether you're moving in some other direction. But I mean, with this example, I cannot but just recall another example. You know, when you are asked to identify yourself or just authenticate that it's you who is entering, they show you the pictures and just please click something in order to prove it. And there is a picture with a car approaching an intersection, and it says, please tell us whether there is a stop sign in this picture, and please do it quickly because our autonomous car is approaching the intersection.
Можно?
Leonid, you didn't answer the question.
I thought I did.
Do you have a machine translation manager in the company?
No.
Okay, that's a good answer. And do you have any other roles in the company that do not exist in a conventional translation company?
Exotic.
Exotic?
Exotic, but not exotic dancers.
No, I understand. Okay. So narrow-mindedly, we do have people dealing with technology in general. We have a holistic role because it's not empty. Empty is just a part of the picture. Our goal is not to, say, deploy empty or deploy SMT or NMT or any combination of that. Our goal is to improve the process. That is, make it quicker, make it more reliable, make it more efficient, reduce the costs. So in our company, we have a holistic role, technology managers who are working on the process as a whole rather than on deploying a particular thing, and then they're just thinking what their strategy is going to be, and that's what we're discussing at our, say, a higher level meetings or just strategic things. But
because I know at least 3 German companies that have machine translation managers in-house.
But I'm really thinking of having a BS manager in-house.
Можно я по-наглому задам вопрос Константину и Леониду? Леонид, у меня вопрос, который я хотела бы Константину и вам задать. Он связан с тем...
I have a question both for Konstantin and to you. You were saying that the translation itself is not changing, but rather what surrounds it. So, Konstantin, where are those competences supposed to come from and the skills in people who are supposed to keep up with the changes? Because there's a lot of them, and as we have just discussed, there are companies searching for experts like that because they think that those experts are out there somewhere. But my question is, where those experts are supposed to get their skills from? And then, if I want to sell this kind of service or that kind of service, I need the expert with the respective competences. So do you find them somewhere, or do you actually help them grow and develop inside your company? Of course, we don't have sometimes the strengths, the legs to keep up with and jump on that train, like that was mentioned in the very beginning.
And there would be no competition. They would find some other thing to compete based on.
Okay.
Finding this talent,
Да.
they're not going to come out of the university. They're not going to come out of the market as it is. Because they're rare, it makes the business more attractive. They're more valuable because they're rare. So as soon as some competency becomes commonplace, it's going to cost less and it's not going to be a very interesting business. The most interesting business is where the client doesn't understand. So these people who call themselves now machine translation manager, they can come to a translation company and they can ask for a salary which is 3 or 4 times more than the salary of a project manager. But let's say we had 1,000 of machine translation managers on the market. They would earn the same pathetic salary that our companies pay to project managers. Because they're rare, they have more value. And they're not going to come out of the university. They have to come out of some magical factory behind the scenes. Huh?
Это прекрасные новости для нас, для всех, что, в общем, есть все-таки возможность хорошо заработать.
Well, that's great news to all of us that we still have the opportunity to make money. But where do those competencies come from? Like in Leonid's company, where did they get that expert from? Where are they supposed to get that expert for machine translation? Because it takes time to grow as an expert in that field. So whose responsibility is that?
If they want to be better than the competition, they have to get those people before the competition.
Get это не вопрос. Да. Get это уже, видимо, не вопрос, потому что их нет.
Well, that if you need an expert, if you have a request from your client and if there's some new technology, then you need to find someone and train them somehow, right?
Let's take the story of Yandex. They reinforced the machine learning division by hiring out of Microsoft. It's the same like with Jedi and the Sith masters. You have to find the master so that you can find his students or her students. It's not going to come out of an academic program. It has to come from the field.
То есть это все-таки ложится на переводческие компании.
So this is the responsibility of LSPs, right?
To add something to that. So I sort of agree with what Konstantin was saying. I don't work for our language services division. So in terms of what they do and how they organize their business, I'm not so familiar. But what I do know is that they are recruiting and specifically trying to train in-house linguists, computational linguists, to work on trying to improve the way the machine translation engines are learning and to make sure all the information that is handled by the language services teams is fed back to the machine translation side so we can improve it. So that training is taking place in-house. I think it's very difficult to find people with the right skills outside because it's a new field. So there are probably few companies who are capable of providing the right training. But I'm also aware that there are many LSPs who are interested in this kind of thing, who are already approaching us, for example, and asking our teams for advice on what do we need to do, what should we learn, how should we approach it. And so that sort of information can be learnt by talking to other companies. But there is no instant fix for it. But I did agree with that. I didn't agree with everything you said, Konstantin. I mean, I didn't. The idea of speech recognition, my personal view is that that's almost dead. I don't see there being a big future for that at all. I think in terms of there being text-to-speech, that's interesting, and we looked at that a little bit yesterday. I think there's some really good opportunities for that because it's great for reviewers. They can listen to what they've translated, and that never really sunk in with me completely until I was looking at it yesterday. But in terms of speech recognition, I don't get it. If neural machine translation is getting better and better and better, why would you use speech recognition? And to edit with speech is ridiculous.
Let's ping the question back to Svetlana. So let's say SDL has rolled out Language Cloud and a new machine translation offering. And Svetlana, being the best reseller of SDL in the world, now has to sell it in Russia to enterprise clients. So she has to boost her team with someone who can do that, who can understand the SDL cloud offering and machine translation use case offering in a good way, enough to sell it to enterprise clients. Where would you hire such a person? Would you hire someone from a university?
Это ко мне вопрос или к Полу? Ко мне.
To you, Svetlana. You've built a successful business. It's the leading SDL reseller in the world, right?
Да, но понимаете, Константин, я все время об этом думаю, что технологии...
Yes, Konstantin, and I've been thinking about it a lot because technologists, the coin of technologists has two sides. On the one hand, you optimize your business, on the other hand, as the technology develops, it forces you to train new people constantly. I'm not sure where they are supposed to get those skills. It's like when students are asking us. Everybody wants us to have the experience, but where are we supposed to get it? Can we get it from you? No, you cannot. Go get it elsewhere. And this is very similar to the student situation, because you don't have experts like that, and you know the set of skills that they're supposed to have, but where do you find them? No, the story is a little bit different. It's not about the sales. It's about the understanding of the process. And to understand the process, you need to have the skills. And you need to find those skills. You need to get them from somewhere. And it's an important process. You and your client need to be very clear on what the client wants and what they expect. So it's a very sensitive spot that you just hit. And I'm also curious to hear from Leonid how they manage this. Могу сказать и от себя несколько слов. Во-первых, вы не удивитесь, но универсального решения не существует. Здесь такой порочный круг своеобразный получается. Но в целом я бы сказал, что необходимо владеть ключевыми компетенциями на высоком уровне внутри компании, потому что вы не сможете никогда найти человека, нанять человека на работу, который создаст для вас целую область, поскольку он такой компетентный и такой замотивированный. Но если даже это и так у вас не будет возможности никак удостовериться в том, что он владеет необходимыми знаниями и навыками, если вы сами ими не владеете, если вы не понимаете, в чем они должны заключаться. И если вы не знаете, чего вам ожидать, то выполнить эту задачу нереально. Поэтому я бы рекомендовал, и это то, что мы пытаемся делать. Не скажу, что мы в 100% случаев успешны, но мы пытаемся. Так вот, я бы рекомендовал внутри компании иметь специалистов на высоком уровне, которые понимают, как вы будете строить свой бизнес, которые будут разрабатывать сценарии, выбирать оптимальные сценарии для вас, поскольку бюджетов на все идеи и все решения просто не хватит. Можно, конечно, обратиться к коллегам, таким вот прекрасным коллегам, как Пол, поинтересоваться, какие сценарии работают для них. Может быть, что-то в интернете поискать, а экспериментировать без конца мы не можем. Ни один бюджет этого не выдержит. Нас интересует конкретный специалист, но не тот, который будет решать за вас проблему или открывать новый департамент для вас, но тот, который будет иметь экспертные знания и навыки в этой сфере. Возможно, вы переманите его от кого-то из конкурентов. Может быть, он работает в какой-нибудь исследовательской лаборатории крупной или на каком-то другом предприятии. Но в любом случае вам нужен такой специалист, который знает, что делать, знает, куда вы движетесь и как туда попасть. Вам нужен архитектор решений, который будет понимать ваши потребности и их объем, и который будет осознавать объем необходимых инвестиций. То есть вы считаете, что именно архитектор таких решений решит вопрос? Любую должность можно обозвать архитектор решений.
But I'm a pretty good solution architect because I understand how things work in general. So, I mean, if I needed to do that, I could do this part, but there is no way how I could, say, deploy empty or go into details. I haven't done it in person for years. Svetlana probably can explain it better.
Нет, я хотел просто добавить, что получается мы подходим к ответу на вопрос, который Александр задал.
We are approaching actually the answer to Alexander's question because he works with schools a lot. So, Leonid, you have this bigger picture. You know what you need, and you need to train your expert. Where do you send them to get the training? Say within the next 3 to 5 years. Do you introduce some training courses or maybe train them otherwise to to learn to use all those new technologies and whatever else we might face in the nearest future as LSPs. If you manage to stay on top of things here, you can make some good money because everybody will want to train their people. It's not enough just to give them the assignment. You need to somehow, you need them to be able to actually do it. And a lot of clients approach SDL for this kind of expertise. They need the information to help their experts do their job. When you have an assignment, a task, you need people who are trained to do it. And where do they get the training?
Not from a course. By the time the course is out, it's already too late. If there is a course, it means that this job has become a commodity.
Trailblazers learn themselves because there is no one or no source ready to teach them this. And if you're learning using a book, it means that you are behind competition. That's an eternal kind of philosophical curse of an enterprise, if I may.
Ну тогда, Константин, дарю вам идею, должен быть создан мировой...
Философская концепция. So there should be this global center of competences, of translation competences, where you can grow and develop. Thank you for the idea. Kirill, a question to you, if I may. Для того,
would you pay to hire a solution architect right now into your company? And how many project manager salaries would you pay to hire a machine translation expert right now for in-text?
Если я правильно понял, ты хочешь услышать про соотношение.
You mean the ratio? I mean, how much more expensive will this architect be? Would you like to hire them right now, the solution architect and the MT expert? If yes, how many project management salaries are you willing to pay them, to both of them? It's a difficult question. Well, just a ballpark, without thinking too long. Maybe 3 to 5 times, if we're talking solution architects, if we're talking project management, or MT management, then I say 2 or 3 salaries tops. This is just off the top of my head. I think we could say that it's somehow similar to the IT industry. You have this average salaries of juniors, middle level experts, and seniors. So I think the solution architect should get a 4 times more than the junior specialist. If I may, another question to you, Kirill. Within the next 3 years, the majority of your clients, LSPs, will deploy machine translation. Unless in-text learns to work with this technology better than your clients, you will lose at least half of your margin. That could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So in the light of those losses, how many salaries, project management salaries, would you be willing to pay to your MT expert who will help you stay ahead of your clients and of your competition? I think roughly the same. It will not change. We are working on this. We have a separate function, a designated function. It's not a separate position, but it's a function that our staff members have. As regards the drop in sales after our clients deploy MT, I'm with Leonid on this one. We need to diversify the services. It is important. Yes, and we need to diversify today or even yesterday. This is just as regards the question of how to survive. And just to add to the question that Alexander asked, the very use of MT is not really a complicated task. You just upload the document and you hit translate. It's very simple. The question here is when to use it and what engine to choose. and then how to sell it. But if we're talking usage, those are the two questions that we need to answer. And in the nearest future, from my standpoint, all of the LSPs that we are in contact with, they are continuously testing different engines in different language pairs. And this becomes even more interesting when those engines are updated next week and then again. And you need to keep up with those updates all the time. You need to know when to use what. And so in the nearest future, I'm hoping that we will automate the process to select the appropriate engine for the specific project. Leonid mentioned this today, that a lot of things are done manually. A piece, we translate a segment, and then we compare it, and then we choose the engine. So at some point, I think that it will be automated. As regards whether to use it or not and when, I'm not yet sure I understand how this can be automated, because I feel that it's more about communicating with the client and knowing their needs. And if they have certain criteria, those boxes that we need to tick, then we should base our approach to machine translation on that to be more effective and to stay within the budget. Now, on to the training of our managers. I don't think that there will be some sort of university or college teaching machine translation, because a year ago, very few companies actually used machine translation. But today, they are using it quite a lot. And those engines are updated. And I haven't yet met an expert, a college graduate or a university graduate, who would be ready to start working the next day. I don't think those schools even exist. Maybe Leonid has a different experience in the United States, but from the United States, but not here.
General thing. There is absolutely no way to teach you anything except for how to learn quickly. There is no way how you can get out of the university, whether it's in Ukraine or in the United States. Well, my personal view on American universities may be somewhat different from their high reputation, because I dealt with them. But anyway, the only thing they can teach you actually is how to stay up to date, how to learn quickly, and how to adapt to the changing market conditions, technologies, and everything else. So in a sense, when you're talking about particular knowledge, just how to do this or that task, universities will always be several steps behind the industry, and it's inevitable. And it's not because they're bad, it's because we are just moving forward. It was only possible in the Middle Ages, when progress was relatively slow and things didn't change much during the next 20 or 50 years. So that's the first thing. The second thing, Paul used this metaphor. I'm just kind of rephrasing this. He did it during the keynote that I listened to very attentively. So the thing is, whatever versions of the so-called artificial intelligence we're talking, it's outrageously stupid compared even to an average human. And if you're not completely sure of that, just try talking more to your Alexa or Google device. So the thing is, under most circumstances, it will say, I don't know, can you please rephrase, can you repeat the question, or something like that. Even the most stupid humans do not do that.
Леонид, я могу проиллюстрировать.
Yeah, and
Alexa?
And I can illustrate on that.
Ничего она не поняла.
Great. Thank you so much. And the other thing is, once again, I'm sorry I'm delving deep into philosophy, but there is one more thing you shouldn't forget. If you look at what the classics wrote when we were discussing the whole concept of artificial intelligence, what we have now, neural network based, is nothing like artificial intelligence. And it's good. Because when we create a real artificial intelligence, that's more or less, say, an equivalent of a human. It means that this intelligence also has its own goal setting. So it doesn't care at all about the task we would like to give it. It has its own goals. It's useless to us because it thinks of what it wants rather than what we want to do. As far as we're talking about something that's assisting us in completing our tasks, it's a very, very limited version. I mean, in plain English, it's just a very stupid version of artificial intelligence, and a very limited one. And I'm not sure we want a true artificial intelligence, because it may think that we're, as a species, are just obsolete and need to get extinct. Anyone?
Давайте вопросы из зала, может быть.
Maybe there are some questions from the audience.
Interesting discussion, and it looks like it's reinforcing, particularly my vision, that machine translation is not really capable of producing a valid content that would be read by humans in the end, right? So in the end, we need a human translation. And what translation companies currently doing, as I see, they try to optimize the processes of to deliver translation services and fighting with the business complexities by hiring, for example, solution architects. A person is very hard to find, honestly. I work at a company that's pretty much where a solution architect is one of the key people that tries to actually deliver solutions for every new customer. And the company, from technology standpoint, built a number of tools, and the task of the solution architect is actually find appropriate set of tools to complete the use case. So my question is, what if we move that complexity to the customer? What do you think? Should we build tools that would help customers actually build a better source content that is more eligible for translation by some simpler workflows and simpler tools? Is it possible as a diversification strategy, for example, that Leonid mentioned? Or it's not eligible at all? I have a very narrow perspective, so I'm asking if it's even possible or not. Thank you.
So I'll take that from two perspectives. The first one, just to answer what you were talking about, machine translation not being suitable for carrying out translation. I disagree with that statement. I do think machine translation is capable today, and is getting better all the time, of handling a tremendous amount of content. It's not capable of handling all content, and there is definitely room for requiring a human, particularly for some types of translation. So I just wanted to clarify that point. The second point you made about improving the source content and the process that people go through, is exactly what's happening at the moment. And there are companies like SDL, for example, who are tackling it from that particular side. So we have many systems that are looking at creating more content, trying to improve the process behind the creation of that content, trying to make sure that the content is written in a consistent, simple way so that the machines can do a better job of the translation. And all of that overall process, from the creation of the content through to the delivery of the final document, is being addressed by various companies, not just SDL, but SDL are doing it as well. So yes, it is an important thing. And I would say using some kind of artificial intelligence to do it. I sort of agree with what you're saying, that it's not really true artificial intelligence, if you really delve into what that means. But in terms of data analysis, that's really what it is. And it is getting better all the time, and able to identify trends and things that can help you make better decisions. And that's really what it's all about.
Кость, да, я слышу, что ты хочешь. Вижу, вернее, что ты...
Yes, Konstantin, I can see you are ready to answer, but we have time just for your answer, and I have a request for you. After you answer, could you please become a moderator and to close up our technology section, but to do it in a beautiful way, please wish us something pleasant and inspirational.
The idea of moving the complexity to the customer, I don't like that. The more complexity you have on your side, the more money you get, right? The function of the solution architect is perhaps not to devise the workflow. It's to help you sell. It's to help you convince the customer that you can deliver in a technological and a modern way. So as you approach the technology challenge, try to do as much as possible on your side. Try to be the company, the specialist that provides more value to the client. If they don't know something about machine translation, technology, source content, you can deal with that. And that's what makes you more valuable. So to sum up the discussion about technology, it's a part of what we do, right? The technology transforms our business all the time, but it's a race. If your client understands this better than you, then your margins will be very small. If you understand something better than your client, then your value increases. And so can your salary or your margin or your revenue increase. To sum it up, run faster, learn a little more, do more on your side, be the change, be the technological expert, be the valuable professional.
Спасибо.
And you can't learn it in your...
Thank you very much.
You have to learn it from the field.
Окей. Так, на этом все, дамы и господа.
That's all, ladies and gentlemen. Couple of housekeeping notes. We will close up the conference. We will do it next to the canteen in business section. So we would like to invite everyone.